CashFlow Diary Podcast, episode 87.
Congratulations, you showed up. Give yourself a high five in celebration of your success. Welcome to the CashFlow Diary, where new and experienced investors come to take confident action towards their goals. Your host is a family man, a real estate entrepreneur, investor, coach, and instructor. As a master facilitator of Robert Kiyosaki's Cashflow 101 game, he's inspired many to begin their journey into creating cash flow for themselves and their family. And now, here he is to offer you the tools required to earn the income desired. Your cash flow coach, Jay Massey.
All right, and welcome to another episode of the CashFlow Diary Podcast. I am your host, Jay Massey, and I am so glad you decided to show up today. Wait, I can't see you, so it doesn't really matter anyway. You're listening, and that's what's exciting about it. I'm glad that you're here. If this is your first time, something I want you to know, go over to learninvestingnow.com. Again, that's learninvestingnow.com. We've got a course sitting there for you so that you have the opportunity to begin your journey on becoming that bigger, better, badder real estate investor that you know is inside. Today's guest, I think you're going to love. Well, no, I know you're going to love. Here's why. Because oftentimes what happens is you are inspired by something and you just wonder, is it going to work? You wonder, can I do it? You wonder, does it make it? No one's going to really listen to me. And I think what's going to happen as you listen today is that you're going to learn that, yeah, it can work, and it can work for you, and it can work right now. And all you got to do is be willing, keyword, willing to face fear and make it happen. Vicki Higgins is a published author, executive consultant, and motivational speaker. She was in corporate America for almost 20 years. That's 2 decades, and reached the level of executive vice president and chief marketing officer. You're like, what is that? I know, we'll get there. But then she realized she was exhausted, stressed out, unfulfilled, and something was missing. I find that interesting. How many people do you know go to work simply because there's a paycheck, but there's no fulfillment behind it? I'm guessing we're going to have something to talk about that today. She went on a personal journey then to discover that missing link between success and happiness. And she found that missing link and more. She's got a new book coming out for all of us. When Work Isn't Working, Rethink Success to Discover Your True Life Purpose. Please help me welcome Miss Vicki Higgins. Vicki?
Thank you so much. I'm pleased to be here. It's an honor.
Excellent. Glad that you are here. Now, there's a question that I tend to start most of these with, because I tend to think that today's entrepreneurs are like yesterday's superheroes. So what that means is, you think about, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, the Wonder Twins, or some other, superhero. They all had a beginning. They all had a beginning before they were this masked Avenger. They were something else, and they have an origin story. So do us a favor. Share with us your origin story.
Oh, I totally believe in the superhero story. And I think most of us, even before age 14, had something happen in our life that caused us to be so driven and to strive towards something to become that superhero. So my origin story is that I grew up in a small town in Indiana. I had a great family, mom, dad, little sister, and my dad started having mood swings, and we didn't know really what was going on. And I'll give you an example. One night I was about 13 years old. I came home from babysitting and I woke him up. It was very late at night and I woke him up. And he got really angry and came out and yelled and screamed at me and then threw a couch across the room and proceeded to whip me and tell me how I didn't have any respect for anybody and was a horrible person. And so growing up in that kind of household where sometimes days were great and sometimes my father would just go into these rage moments, really left me as a young teen feeling very inadequate, and I had a lot of self-esteem issues. So that was kind of a defining moment for me, and I know a lot of other people have situations in their life that happen where they realized that, I am going to change my life. And that was a defining moment for me. I decided, I am not going to live like this. I don't know how you are, but I'm not going to live like that. Right. So I decided to make a lot of changes in my life. I was 13. I didn't have a lot of wherewithal and how to do all of that, but I knew I was going to make some change. So I became incredibly driven at a young age. And I was the first person in my entire family to ever go to college and graduate. I then went on to get my MBA. I proceeded to work for the Indiana Pacers, marry a very wonderful man, and, all things seemed to be going pretty well. But there were still a lot of things within me that I hadn't dealt with or handled. And so I started noticing some crumbling happening, and my marriage was falling apart, and I had put on this fabulous facade because, of course, Wonder Woman doesn't show any cracks.
Oh, no.
And I'd put on this fabulous facade that everything was great. So, but inside, I still had a lot of esteem issues and some things that I struggled with. So, I ended up going through a divorce, getting myself into some financial debt because I was trying to keep up with the Joneses and do what everybody else was doing. And then I realized that I needed to work on myself. So I started doing a lot of self-work, personal development, a lot of growth, a lot of inner child work, and then really hit the reset button, decided that those challenges that I faced at a young age were really lessons that I learned, and that there is no mistake. Everything happens for a reason. So I learned how to turn that adversity and some of those challenges into abundance. And I created some great paths for myself, not only with my career, but I also became a published author.
Wow.
My first book was called No Mistakes, How You Can Turn Adversity into Abundance. So that was a book that came out last year, and it was talking a little bit about that challenge. But I had also gone on to create a great career. So I worked national marketing for an airline, ATA Airlines. I also went on to do marketing for Los Angeles, which is tourism marketing, and it's helping people understand why they should come and visit Los Angeles. Believe it or not, cities do need that. So I did marketing for Los Angeles, and then a recruiter found me, and I became the executive vice president and chief marketing officer for Newport Beach. So what that means is I had offices in London, Beijing, Shanghai, Sydney, Australia, and we're getting ready to open one in Dubai. And I also managed all the marketing for Newport Beach locally, so anything domestically from the online website, social media, public relations, all the communications that went out from our organization, and branding, and anything that was happening in the community, we let people know about it so they would come and visit. So the short version of this is that I decided that after a really nice title, Chief Marketing Officer and Executive Vice President, there was still something missing. I was really experiencing a lot of stress and a lot of exhaustion. And I don't know if you know people like this, but I was the person that would, on lunch hour, try to see friends, try to cram in the bank, the dry cleaners, and maybe even a workout, and then get back to the office because my day was just so jam-packed. And so there was a point that I was like, wait a minute, there has to be a different way to do life. So I decided to leave my job in May and work on becoming more of a motivational speaker and really pursue what had already become a big passion of mine. So anyway, that's the version as to my superhero story.
Wow. I mean, there's so much in there. What's awesome, though, and I hope other people are catching this, because every time I ask this question, what we learn is we're all the same. We all have stuff that we've got to deal with. And then over time, what ends up happening is we find a way to deal with it. And that typically, sheds all the things that's been hiding what's inside that's unique about us, that allows us to then present ourselves to the world in a completely different way. What I love is you're going all the way back like age 14. You're like, wow, this is long before podcasts, people, long before iPhones, before any of this was possible. And you're like, this is the moment. It was way back then. And I'm just like, okay. And I got tons of questions now because when you said something that I thought was interesting that I think applies to a lot of entrepreneurs and most importantly, terrifies them, is you said sometimes days were great, at home, and other times not so much. Well, the entrepreneurial life is kind of the same way. Sometimes days, months, weeks, clients, experiences, in my world, properties, tenants are great, and sometimes not so much. So what systems or techniques, or how do you deal with the great days versus the not so great days?
Well, I start every day with a meditation and kind of set my tone. And then I really realize that it's only me. It's only the way that I choose to show up. And if anybody else is having a bad day, I can still kind of check in and go, wait a minute, how do I want to handle this? And growing up the way that I grew up, and also being an EVP and CMO and having so many different people pulling at me and different responsibilities that really were on my shoulders, I had the great experience to learn how to manage that and not let it affect me personally, and just continue to be able to show up for people and be who I am without allowing it to really get inside me and really affect me emotionally and personally. Because there are ups and downs, and there are ups and downs in life, and we can choose how we choose to handle them, and whether we react or whether we just allow ourselves to, respond in a nice way to them.
Yeah, and I agree thousands of percent. The main thing I wanted to get out of that is the fact that sometimes, at least maybe I'm the only one, but we can be a little naive and go, everything's always going to be perfect. So we never prepare for the possibility that someone else might be having a bad day and like, what's wrong with that person? Yeah, totally hear you. Now, the next thing I was thinking about was, because at that same age, and I love this because this is such the case, I think more entrepreneurs would be born right now based upon the answer to this question, is you said that at that age, you didn't know how you were going to affect those changes or manifest those changes in your life. But at the same time, it didn't matter. You made a resolute decision. These are the things that's going to happen. And the how was never a part of the equation. Yet so many entrepreneurs at later ages, we'll say, stop themselves by saying things like, you know what? One day I'm going to write a book, but I don't know how. One day I'm going to finally start serving people in this way, but I don't know how. Where on earth did you get the courage, the gall? How dare you not know how and go out there and do business anyway? What's up with that?
I made that decision at 14, and I've made it a number of times since then. And I think many of us entrepreneurs have to make that decision daily.
Right.
I know I want to do this, but I don't know how. And I think for a little while, even it stumped me. I had a vision of where I wanted to go, but I didn't know exactly how to get there. And I made some mistakes along the way. And but I also realized that they were learning opportunities. And I knew, okay, just like Thomas Edison, they weren't failures. They were just things that I knew now didn't work. So I'll try a different way.
Yes.
So, I think making that decision at a very young age and having that tenacity to go after something that I wanted so badly, at that time for me was college. I was told, you'll never go to college, you're not smart, all these things. And so I just dug in and tried to figure it out. And and I asked the help of other people, which sometimes as entrepreneurs, we get scared to do. But I think that was a great lesson for me, because I learned that not only in growing up, but also in different challenges that I faced, as long as I had a really clear vision of where I wanted to go in my life, I knew I was going to get there. I didn't know how. But that's the thing. Many entrepreneurs get very stuck on, well, I'd like to write a book, but I don't know how. And like you said, it's backwards thinking, and it's almost that reverse, psychology for your brain. You have to know where you want to go. It's like the navigation system in your car. You have to know the address that you're going to put in. If you're going from LA to Arizona, you have to know the address of where you're going to go, and you put that in your car's navigation.
It's at least
system.
helpful. It takes
a minute to calculate.
Yeah.
It takes a minute to calculate, and then once it calculates, it doesn't give you all 88 turns at the same time.
Oh, good Lord.
It just gives you one turn at a time. So go out of your driveway and turn right, and then turn left and go 12 miles, and so it just gives you one step at a time. And so that's the thing that helped me get over the how, is that I don't know how to get from LA to Arizona, and I couldn't tell you how, but I know that if I know I'm going there, then my inner guidance system will allow me to see that one turn at a time as I need to go. And then the right people will appear, the right opportunities will just show up, and the right, cash flow will show up, and the right things will happen to make it all work. So not knowing how is the biggest thing to just get over, and then just say, here's where I want to go. This is what I'm putting in my navigation system for my life.
I think we just scared half of them right there. They're like, how can you not know? The funny thing about you using the GPS analogy is that oftentimes when people try to give me directions, if I'm driving or whether I'm driving or not, they try to tell me the whole thing, like go this way, then turn this, and it actually irritates me. I was like, I just need to know the next step. Don't even tell me.
One step.
Just tell me the next step. And by the way, if you want to get to Arizona from LA, you just start going east. That's the first step. Just go east and you're good. And then you'll get closer. You're closer than you were. So that's pretty much how I operate a lot. A ton. Now, you've made this transition. You make this decision. Where does the faith, the belief, the okay, that's it? How did you? Anthony Robbins would call it raising your standards, where you go, you know what, this is the level and this is the life I have right now. Yes, on the outside, it looks great, but these are typically golden handcuffs that I've got on. How did you decide to unlock yourself and actually step out and put yourself in a situation where technically you can free fall now?
Right. I have always been a person that is a big risk taker. I think being in a position that I've been in my corporate career, I've been able to quickly assess what my risk level is and why and where and how I'm going to go do things. So I've been the big step for me, the decision for me really was I looked at our CEO and I looked at other people that were 5 years down the road and I looked at what their life was like and I just decided, yeah, I don't want that. And I had somebody already talking to me about a CEO position because I have a certification that only about 500 people in the world have. And I could go run a city, like a conference and visitors bureau or a tourism bureau in any country in the world because my certification is international. And so I've had a few people approach me and I'm like, that is not what I want. There's so many politics attached to it. Their life is so, like you mentioned, the golden handcuffs. They might make great money and they might have a nice title. And that, I think, is how our society has defined success, money and power and titles. And so I really think that I future-paced what my life was going to look like and decided that my actions today are going to set up what my life is. So some changes.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. A lot of percent. Oftentimes, we'll make these decisions and go, okay, I made the decision. Where's the result? And there's usually like a 6-month lag between the decision time and the actual realization of what you did 6 months ago. So if you're not happy with what's going on right now, think about what you did 6 months ago, and there's your reason why.
So true.
Very, very clear on that one. So let's talk about something you said. You said the world defines success in the title, and you're talking, when work isn't working, rethinking success. So tell us a little bit more about that. Well, about the title, because I think it's obvious to me, but I want to know what was going through your head with this title of the book and everything else. Okay, and speaking of books, I wanted to make sure to interrupt you just really quickly to remind you of Cashflow Diary, 10 Steps to Creating Wealth in Any Economy. It is still available, obviously, in Amazon. Thank you for those of you who have left a positive review. Very excited about that. Or for those of you wondering when the audiobook is coming, it is a project. It is still in the works. Don't worry. It's coming. It's coming soon. Those of you who have pre-ordered, you will get it filled. If you still wish to pre-order for the audiobook, you can do one of two things. You can go to CashFlowDiary.com/book, CashFlowDiary.com/book, and be able to pick up a copy of Cashflow Diary, 10 Steps to Creating Wealth in Any Economy, as well as pre-order the audiobook. Or you can send a text message to area code 949-682-3565. Again, that number is area code 949-682-3565. The key word that you're going to use when you send in that text message is the word audio. If you want to know when the audio is going to be available, you text the word audio, AUDIO. Anyway, I want to get you back to the interview here with Vicki Higgins.
Well, do you know how a lot of people climb the corporate ladder to success and they reach a very high level, or they reach a CEO position, or are incredibly successful? They have a great title, they have a lot of money, but, they're stressed out to the max. They're really unfulfilled. They might even feel guilty by feeling unfulfilled because they're like, gosh, I have this great title and I have a lot of money. I shouldn't want more out of life. I should be satisfied with this.
Wow.
But, they are trying to cram in their friends and the dry cleaning and the bank all during lunch hour,
right.
like I was. And they're also just feeling like something's missing. And I, for a little while, felt guilty. I'm like, gosh, I've done so well. I shouldn't want more out of life. But what I realized was when I started doing the research, and I've talked to probably 40 people that have made big transitions similar to me, a bank president that ended up being a spiritual teacher, and, a lot of people who, a veterinarian who owned a veterinary clinic, and a number of them, a chain of them, but then no longer had a passion for what he was doing. And we just worked with him to actually get him back into what his passion was. So he kept his clinics and everything, but we just reworked his schedule. So I've talked to a lot of people who got to that really high level, but they just felt like something was missing. And so in my research and in talking to so many people, what I found is that there's a disconnect basically between what people want and what people define as success for themselves and what society defines success as. So society might say, oh, you should climb a corporate ladder to reach success and money and power, and then you'll be happy. But what so many people find when they get there is just this real empty feeling and this lack of fulfillment. And it's because that there's a disconnect between what society says, and they haven't really done the work to define success for themselves. So what my book, When Work Isn't Working, is talking about is when work isn't working, if you are in one of those positions, which, it's really interesting in the research I've done, 70% of Americans are unhappy in their job.
No.
And they're only 13% in the world like what they do for work. And 1 in 5 workers in America plan on changing jobs this year, 2014. And then 22% of Americans experience extreme stress due to their job, and stress is within the top 10 and is 60% of all diseases are related to stress. So something isn't working in our world. And I think a lot of times people just go and they look on, the websites for a job, or they go to a recruiter, or they try to, grow in whatever they've been doing for the past 5, 10, 20 years. And they just haven't taken that time to really rethink what success is for them. So what my book will do is a guide. It'll walk them through a process to rethinking success for themselves, and it gives them a self-assessment they can go through, and it helps them really look at what does success mean? Because I think we need more people who are happy. Or clearly, if only 13% of people are happy with their job, we need to do something a little different.
You know what I think you're trying to do? What I think you're trying to do is you're trying to eliminate traffic on the 405 and 5 freeways. That's what it is right there.
A little commute for an hour.
Yeah, there you go. So we're going to cut down traffic. That's the end result here. I agree. Lord knows that's one of the reasons. What's that?
Let's do it now because I have to go to LA tomorrow.
Yeah, I know, right? It's one of the reasons I enjoy, what we do is because I didn't want to get into traffic. I just didn't want to go. It's like, no, that is incentive enough to find another way to do this. Now, when you say rethink success, give us an example of what that would be, because this sounds like a major reframing going on, because we grow up, we're told, go to school, get good grades, get a job, blah, blah, blah. All these things that for a while we believe are true, rightly or wrongly. And then at the end of the day, we end up in this position, or many of us end up in this position like this. Is this it? So
right.
What is success then?
I think that people want more control over their life, and there's also hope. You see like the movies or like the TV shows like Shark Tank. There are a lot of people who want to be entrepreneurs. I love that show.
I know.
And more people just want an inspiration for doing something on their own, and they want more control of how they live their life and what their day is like, instead of being controlled and having to be in an office and sitting there twiddling their thumbs just because they have to be there. So I think that people really want more control. So what I've created is there are 8 F's.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Yes.
So, and this is easy. It's on my website too. But I'll just run through them. They're in no particular order, but they kind of make up our life.
Okay.
So I like things really simple. So I figured if I can make a list of 8 things
Yes.
and that makes up our life, then we can start there.
Okay.
Like, okay, what do I want in each one of these areas?
Okay.
And so your family,
Yeah.
your friends, your faith or your meditation or spiritual practice, whatever that means to you, your finances, your firm or your career, your fun or fun experiences and travel,
Nice.
your feelings, and your fitness.
Okay. Got it.
Got it? 8. So those are 8 things that pretty much we can kind of put anything that's going on in life in one of those categories. So in redefining success, first let's look at what life success is. So if we have life success, how can we be abundant in each one of these areas? They may not all be even, like an evenly balanced life, because different things are different priorities in life. But how can we have abundance in each one of these areas and really flow in each one of these areas?
Right.
So rethinking success is, number one, doing an assessment in each one of these areas. Where are you right now? How full is your tank? If you've got a gas tank, are you on empty, a quarter, halfway, 3/4, or are you filled up in each one of these areas?
We're calling AAA to bring us a gas tank right now.
That's right.
Keep going.
And so if you look at each one of these areas, it's really about life success. And then let's look at what you really are passionate about in each of these areas. And usually 1 or 2 things. Maybe it's fitness, or maybe you really love nutrition, or maybe you love sewing, or, whatever it is. But what are your passions? And then let's start looking at what your business skills are. And so when we start going through the process, and I'll take people through that process in a little bit more time in a webinar, but it allows them to go through this process and really look at like what their life looks like now, what they want it to look like, what their skills are and what their passions are, and then how can they contribute and how can they make a difference. And so then we start seeing cash flow. This is where the money comes in. When people are really aligned with what they love to do, it doesn't feel like work, and they love it. And there's a quote by Howard Thurman. It's, don't ask what the world needs, ask what makes you come alive, and go do that. Because what the world needs is more people who've come alive. So if we have more people in our world that are really alive with what they love doing, and this 8-step program, these 8 F's, it's just a first step of kind of looking at what does your life look like, and how filled up are you, and where do you maybe need some work? And then let's move through the process of business skills and passions, and then turn it on to see, are you in a job that you really love because it is aligned with who you are? Or do we need to look at maybe transitioning into something different? Doesn't mean you have to like quit your job and go off the grid and teach yoga, but... Yes, I love it. And live in a yurt. Find a way to make some good money, because you have to make good money in order to help yourself, your family, more people. But let's find a way to transition you into making good money, and more people create more abundance when they are happy.
Well, and let's be clear. If you like yoga, we like you too.
I'm a big fan. I love a yoga teacher. Nothing against it.
Oh my goodness, that's funny though.
So often we see people that are like, I have to quit everything.
Right.
So I'm not saying you have to quit everything. I'm just saying let's do a step by step. Let's do an assessment. Let's walk through some steps, and then let's figure out if you're really aligned currently and we just need to shift a few things, or if we need to make a transition into something that you really love. Well, the simple answer is no, I'm not aligned, because we just went through the statistics. I mean, the whole idea of 70% of people who report negative feelings about their jobs, that's okay. That's a lot of people. It's a lot of people. I mean, it's crazy. You're going to be busy. I am busy. So that's definitely going to happen there. So here's the question. If this many people are unhappy, why do they stay? I went through that with myself. I had a good job. There was this sense of security. I had a nice check. It paid my bills. I was comfortable, but not happy. Right. So I think that, again, there is this positioning of scarcity and lack that society has placed upon our society. There are not enough jobs. There's not enough money, fear, lack, scarcity. But really, when we compare, going a little bit more spiritual on you for a second, but when we look at like the there's the spiritual side of life is there's always abundance, and there's plenty. There's plenty of money, there's plenty of time, there's plenty of everything. It's just how we choose to use it. And I think for such a long time, society has caused us to feel scarcity, lack, not enough. And now we need to really redefine that. What are our needs, and are our needs met? And then what are our wants, and why do we want those things? Is it to keep up with the Joneses, or just because we like nice things, or is it to help somebody else? So I think really looking at that scarcity and lack mentality is what I needed to do when I decided to make that shift. And I had the moment of fear of like, oh my God, I'm leaving a good 6-figure income. What am I doing? Everybody's going to think I'm nuts. Yeah. And then I was like, wait a minute. If I stay here, nothing is going to change. If I stay put, then I'm going to be 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road going, wow, what if? Mm-hmm. Or I wonder if I could have had a happier life. And I decided that staying put would have been a bigger regret than going after something that I really wanted.
I had a friend, I have a friend, that was past tense, should be present. Anyway, I have a friend, he asked me a question once, and it's very appropriate for what you're saying right here. He asked me, he's like, Jay, do you know what hell is? I was like, no, John, what are you saying? Because I didn't know where this was coming from. And he was like, well, he said, hell is to meet the person you could have been.
Yes, I love that.
And I don't know that I'll ever forget that because it was like, impactful. I don't want to meet that person that I could have been because I turned down or was too afraid or just didn't. The words, I wonder what if those words I do not really want to come out of my mouth in any way, shape, or form and at all, because it's like, I'm alive. Let's go for it. Let's figure it out on the way. Yeah, we're going to make some mistakes. All of those things happen. And for me, in that fun category, the fun and the firm category, they kind of overlap. And that's part of, I was like, how does that work? Am I having fun or is this my work? I don't know. Anyway, because when you mentioned that you had worked with the Pacers organization, I was like, cool, there's one person. Because one day I do intend and hope to be able to own one of the NBA franchises. And I just think it would be fun as well as work. It's like, they're both the same, so
awesome.
That those are all, excellent things. So what is it when the person finally comes to you? What do you think makes the that your perfect, person that you get to help finally go, all right, Vicki, please help me?
When they realize that 5 years down the road or 6 years down the road or 10 years down the road or 20 years down the road, that they don't want to be in this same spot and they really are willing to do whatever it takes, because there are going to be times that, we go through those emotions of like, is this going to work for me? Yeah. And, I had those feelings of like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Is this going to work for me? And I think that, when they're ready to just step into it and be willing to learn. I really believe that, I don't have all the answers, and I know you and I kind of share that mindset. I like learning from other people. And so my perfect client that I work with is somebody that is really clear on where they want to go and who they can be. And they're willing to just do the work, and they're willing to go for it, and they're willing to learn from other people. And then I can guide them and I can provide exactly those steps to take to get them to where they want to be. And it's such a blast. So that's the thing that I love the most, is seeing people come alive and seeing people come alive with their passion and seeing them be incredibly financially abundant because of it. But not only that, but being abundant in all the areas of their life. They're 8Fs. Then they're having so much fun. Their time with their family is cherished and is beautiful. And they have great friends that are big change makers as well. And all the things just really fall in alignment with who they are. And you just see them spark and really come alive.
So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to play devil's advocate, because I'm going to mentally put myself in the place of someone listening to us right now, and I know what they're saying. They're saying, yeah, you don't know, I got no time. So tell me, how on earth are we going to help them bend. I like to call it bending time to my will in order to do all these things. I mean, this is 8 categories. I've got kids, I've got work, I got all this other stuff going on. And now you want me to actually pursue something I really want to do? What say you?
What say I to that? The first thing we do is where do you want to go? Because the why is incredibly important. And if you want to spend more time with your kids and that's your why, or if you want to have enough money to have a college fund for them, or if you want to just be happy and not be stressed out. So we first start digging into why are you here? Why are you talking to me? There's obviously clearly you're one of the 70%. So let's talk about you for a minute. So we start there and just figure out, why do you want to make some of these changes? Yeah. And they don't all have to be at once. One of the things I did was I made just a little chart. So on the left-hand side, I had 8 Fs: faith, family, friends, fitness, fun, finances, firm or career, and your feelings. And there might be one other one in there. And so I made that list. And then by the end of the week, I needed to see what are the 3 action steps that I've taken, because I believe that you have to take massive action in order to make massive change. So what are the action steps that I've taken this week? I didn't have to do something every day, but each week. And so with each of my clients, with any client that doesn't have any time, we all have the same amount of time. And believe me, I was a 50, 60, sometimes 80 hours a week girl. So in order to make this shift, there were some big changes that I needed to make. So I just start with the why. Why do you want to be healthy? Let's go through each one of the categories. Are you where you want to be? If you are, great. If you're not, then let's talk about why you want to get to here. And so we really go through that step first. And then we start looking at how can we take action steps that you are in control of, that you're not waiting on somebody else to give you permission for, and you're not waiting on somebody else to, promote you or anything like that, that you're in control of. What are the actions? And so we start with those couple of steps first. And then that gives me the information I need. And then I work kind of intuitively with people to start going through the process. What's the foundation? What are some challenges that you faced? What's your self-assessment? Let's rethink success for you and start redefining it. And then we just put together an action plan and an implementation plan.
Got it. That makes perfect sense to me, because I know that a number of people seek us out when they're saying, okay, it's time to get the money straight, figuring out how to make sure that what was that? Oh, finances. Sorry. That's the finance part. They can work working on the finances so that we can go out there and make some other things happen. And I hear it all the time, Jay, I know what you want me to do, but this, but I don't have time, but this. And I'm just like, you have the same 24 hours. So I was kind of curious what you would say to that same person or persons who are out there, because at the end of the day, we all make time for the things that we consider to be important. Right. Period. And if that is something that you value, you'll make time for it. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. So let me ask you this. If we wanted to find out more, grab a copy of the book, or you said something about a self-assessment. You said that a number of times, in fact. What would be my next step?
You could go to my website, which is VickiHiggins.com. It's VickiHiggins.com. And just provide me with your first name and your email address, and I'll send you a self-assessment. It's the 8 Fs that we discussed here. So if you didn't have a pen and paper, or you were in your car, I'll send them to you, and you'll have them in your happy little hands that you can go through that assessment on your own. And then you'll also be on my list. The book, When Work Isn't Working, Rethink Success, will come out next, I believe it's March of 2015. So I'll be doing some workshops and talking with people and doing some webinars leading up to that. So if people are interested in getting a jump start on all this work, they can join some of my webinars. But anybody that provides me with their email address, I'll just keep you in the loop every month or so on what's happening and when we have things going on, so that you can make sure you're moving forward in your journey.
Awesome. I definitely thank you for investing your time here. Hopefully you feel like you've received, I know we have, and I know that many of the people listening will be able to take from your story to go out there and begin their journey, or continue their journey, or maybe even finally say, you know what, enough's enough, and go make something happen. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure.
Awesome. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you know what time it is. It's time for you to move at the speed of instruction. What does that mean from this episode? It means go over to Vicki's website, get the self-assessment, get started. You're saying, well, Jay, I don't have any time. Do it now. You're on the mobile device already. You know you are. So just type, go to VickiHiggins.com. Now, get this self-assessment, get started, so that way you can say that, you know what, I made a decision and I took measurable action in the direction of the decision that is going to move me closer to those goals. I am glad that you're taking the time today to invest here with us. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to all of you guys again soon. Until next time.
Thank you for investing your time with Jay Massey and the CashFlow Diary. When you have a moment, please visit iTunes and leave a positive comment about the show. And go now to our website, CashFlowDiary.com, to take advantage of our free business building course, Cashflow Foundation. Gain the knowledge, understanding, and skill that will teach you how to never need a job again. Until next time.